Well, again, like for you, when I was listening to you, you triggered a lot of thoughts in my mind as well. And one of the things I'm thinking about is why emotional regulation is so challenging. And so, for example, for our children, the reason it's so challenging is because emotional regulation is something that we're not born with. It develops over time. And for some of us, we're born, we'll notice as parents, if we have multiple children, that some of our kids almost just seem to be born into the world in a way in which emotional regulation comes more naturally and comes more easily to them. And then for others, it will be more challenging. And so specifically, if we have children with sensory sensitivities, if we have deeply feeling children, if we have a child with an ADHD diagnosis or an autism diagnosis or many other individual differences, emotional regulation is going to be more challenging and it's going to take more time. For us as adults, we have a fully developed brain, but what happens is for many of us, we were either not taught the skills of emotional regulation and or also we were raised in homes in which it was not safe to express negative bad emotions. And so what that did is that essentially escalated our unconscious reaction to uncomfortable emotions. And so what happens is, if we were raised in a home in which when we expressed uncomfortable emotions, when we expressed negative emotions, our parents either ignored them or punished them or minimized them, you're fine, let's keep going, then the message that sent the message that sent to us essentially was our parents saying to us, I can't handle your negative emotions, and I don't think you can handle your negative emotions. And again, that just escalated our instinctual response to, associate potential danger around uncomfortable emotions. And so when our child then expresses uncomfortable emotions or negative emotions, it really triggers us. And then we get into generational cycles of, not being able to be with our emotions in effective ways.
Mm. So really, what you're talking about when you're talking about expressing negative emotions, you're talking about, maybe crying, it might be tantrums, it might be throwing things around, slamming doors, that kind of thing. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, what this can look like in real life as a parent with children is, for example, from our child's perspective, perhaps our toddler, we're in a store and we say no to that toy, or for, or perhaps there's a new sibling in the family, or for our older child, it's time to turn off their video game and do their homework, or for us as parents, our kids are fighting, or they're being disrespectful or defiant. And so all of these experiences that we're having are creating uncomfortable emotions in us. And so instead of pausing and becoming curious about, what are my feelings communicating to me about my needs and how can I respond effectively, instead we're lashing out or we're avoiding. And so for our kids, that can look like crying, screaming, hitting, kicking, running away, being disrespectful or defiant, fighting with their sibling, all of these things. And then for as parents, what it can look like is it can look like yelling, shaming, blaming, punishing, or withdrawing physically or emotionally from our children. And so when we respond to conflict in the home in these ways that can be instinctual for us, what it does is it in the short term it escalates the conflict, and in the long term what we're doing is raising another generation of highly reactive people who will, both in potentially their parenting lives, again in their work relationships, it will have a negative impact, and also to your point, it can impact negatively our overall health.